here's a Mythic Legion's head. DorkLair! Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the NECA Ultimate Dungeons & Dragons Elkhorn. This line is NECA's attempt to reimagine the vintage 1980s action figures from LJN, and I think they're doing a phenomenal job. They're basing it, I think, both on the figures themselves and on the artwork. And I gotta say, I think that of all the figures in this line, that Elkhorn might be my favorite. Maybe it's recency bias, but they are all phenomenal. And Elkhorn just takes it to the next level, especially with the accessories. It's a lot of fun when a character has a lot of storage. You can put things in the backpack, attached to the sides of the backpack. He's got a sheath, and so there's a lot of fun weapon storage. Even so, there's still a lot of extra parts that you can't even store on him because he's pretty much loaded up with an accessory kit in addition to like a regular loadout for a regular figure. I mean, basically, you got a kit that you can mix and match with all your sword and sorcery and fantasy stuff. And the figure moves pretty well. Like, it's got decent articulation for a chunky, stocky character. The joints feel nice. I feel like NECA is continuing to put out some nice quality plastic, and it's just got a ton of character. I've heard some people say that this is their all-time favorite action figure Dwarf, which is saying a lot considering all the awesome dwarves in Mythic Legions. But anyway, let's get into this review. Here we have a look at Elkhorn's mighty blue beard, and they didn't just go with a solid blue. It's basically a black beard with blue highlights, which I really like, and that carries around to the back of the hair, and then you have this articulated braid in the back right there. So nice piece. You could remove that if you wanted in certain circumstances, if you want to like maybe pose him looking up a little bit more. The face looks great. There's life in the eyes. The helmet is fantastic. Nice metallic gold with some red accents there. The horns have a very realistic quality paint job to them. So, you know, they are taking this kind of cartoony 80s look style of a character and then definitely modernizing it and giving it a little more of a gritty kind of real world look. There's all sorts of chainmail on his upper collar piece. This upper collar piece is all attached. So it's attached to these straps and then this strap here, and then it's attached to the belt. So if you wanted to remove that, this is going to be a situation where you'd have to take the arms off, I believe. I'm not going to attempt that, but I think that would be the way to do it, because this doesn't have any, like, you know, this is solid. There's no peg or anything to peg this thing off. There is a little, right back here, there's a little flap that allows you to slide the backpack in. More chainmail up in the arms there. Some really nice leather details. The details on these NECA D&D figures are absolutely fantastic. I mean, all of the figures just have so many little, you know, not just painted red for these little gems on the sheath, but even like a little ring of gold around that. Even all the little rivets are painted, and you have the protector on the end there. Yeah, it's really nice. Then you've got some bright colors here down in the pants, which carries over from the toy, you know, the blue beard and the green pants. And I've heard some people say, you know, like they wish they'd gone a little more of a grittier, kind of a wash, maybe a less bright green, a little more subdued kind of thing. But I actually kind of like that color. I think it's pretty cool, and I think it looks great. And then we've got the wraps around the boots and the laces and all sorts of nice little details on those boots. Got a peg hole there. But yeah, I mean, this thing is gorgeous. I just love the look of this Elkhorn figure. And here we have them all zoomed out so you can get an overall look of the size and shape of this character, who stands just about 6 inches to the top of the head, or about 6 3/4 to the top of the horns. Of course, this being a 7-inch scale line, not a 1/12 scale line, this makes a lot of sense for a dwarf when the other characters are 7 to 8 inches tall. Here he is with the Wave 1 figures. As you can see, he does scale really well with Warduke and Grimsword. Next, we have the Wave 2 figures, Strongheart on the left, which was one of my top 10 figures of 2023, and Zarek on the right, who is very similar in construction to Elkhorn. Next, moving away from NECA, we have dwarves from a couple other lines. On the left is the Mythic Legions King Bromden Ironjaw. As you can see, the Mythic Legions dwarves and the NECA Dwarf are going to definitely be a little bit different scale because Legions are not 7-inch scale figures. Their kind of base is like 6 1/4 or 6.5 inches rather than 7+. And then on the right, we do have one that I think does scale pretty well, and that is Gilius from the Golden Axe line by Storm Collectibles. Next, a couple standard Mythic Legions 1.0 body figures. On the left is one of the oldest, Scapular the Crypt Breaker, and on the right is one of the newest from the Poxus wave. It's Poxus himself, and I'm hoping to get a video of that up very soon as well. Next up, a couple green guys from Mythic Legions. On the left is the Ogre scale Ogre Legion builder with the Cyclops head on there. And on the right is a Goblin Thump, which is pretty much the standard Goblin body. And I promise this will be the last Mythic Legions comparison, but I gotta get through all the scales, right? And we got a brand new scale here with the Brute scale figures. On the left is Kalazir the Djinn, and on the right is Tharnog the Orc, which is really cool. We're getting this larger orc, and I think as a dwarf, he definitely fits in pretty well with this scale. He might not fit in among the dwarves of Mythic Legions, but as a dwarf, I think there's plenty of stuff to mix him in with, especially these two. Next here is with a couple other fantasy-based 7-inch figures. On the left is a custom Masterverse figure, and on the right is Tiberius from Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Next up, for some Frazetta love, on the left we do have Conan the Barbarian from the Mezco 112 Collective, and on the right we have Dark Wolf from the new Icon Collectibles line by Frazetta Girls. And as you can see, Conan is definitely out of scale. I think it works okay with Dark Wolf, but he definitely has that larger than life kind of feel compared to these gritty, thinner kind of figures. And finally, some independent lines, some bigger guys on the left. I love this dino. This is the NECA Toys T-Rex. It's a fantastic figure, huge, chunky awesomeness. And then on the right, we do have the Maestro Union Blade Master Wang. For accessories, he does come with the alternate head sculpt here. And here I can show you the ponytail in the back, so that will actually just pop out as a peg and you can pop it back in. So if you do want to get a little more range, you can remove that thing and get him into a pose. Let's say you're doing some toy photography or something, but mostly the same head, but he's got a screaming, battle ready, open-eyed, open mouth kind of look to him here. I should also point out that the knife is removable from the sheath right here. So he's got this small dagger knife that fits nicely into his weapon storage there. Pretty simple shield paint-wise, at least on the front, but it does have some nice battle damage, some blade marks, and some chips along the edge, and then there is a little bit of paint on the inside there, so, and also some cool little sculptures with these, I don't know, these shapes along the inside there, and got some leather bits in the handle, so pretty nice shield. Simple but effective. And then he does come with the Adventurers pack right here, which is really nicely detailed. This thing is sweet. I did heat it up to make this a little more pliable. I think if you're gonna mess around with the inside of it and put some stuff inside, I would say kind of warm it up, soften it up a little bit. But this little strap actually kind of slides under there so that it kind of keeps it down right there. But there is some storage room inside. You can totally store some of these. Like it comes with a nice heart-shaped gem right here, and then that could go right inside that backpack. And it does come with some like raw crystal type gems here, and then those could go in there as well. And you could put his knife in there, or maybe store his extra hands in there or something like that. And then that closes just like this. And then you have some holes in the side where you can put his sword, and that pegs on nicely, very firm. And there's a look at the sheath of that sword, and you can pull that sword out right there. Lots of just amazing little details and all this stuff. I'm not going to spend too much time on each piece, but there's just a lot going on here. And then this axe can go down here on the side of the backpack. I'm not sure. Maybe you could put something else. I mean, you could definitely put this sword in there, but some of the other pieces might fit in there as well. Just a lot of great detail on this pack. Really nice. And then that uses this little slot right here. This piece slots into his back. It's going to be hard to see it on the camera, but it just kind of goes on right there. And yeah, it's got nice weapon storage. This is just a fun figure. It's just a lot of fun to have all of that storage and stuff going on. And then he does come with this incredible looking battle axe. It's pretty big. Like it's like, you know, it's kind of almost as tall as him. Fantastic piece. Lots of details. Great wash and coloring on that metallic colors there. And then you have a nice wooden handle that's really rough looking, and more metallics down on the bottom. And he has a couple different warhammers. So he's got this double-headed warhammer right here with a long handle. And then he's got this warhammer right here with the pick on one side. And again, just all of these pieces are incredibly detailed. It's just amazing how much he comes with. And I know NECA prices have gone up, but this figure feels like it's worth it. It's got a torch right here. This is like a translucent plastic that kind of fades from a darker yellow up to a more transparent yellow up top there, and again with that nice wood detail. And then he does come with a jug, so maybe it's got some ale or some mead in there, some wine or something, but nice little accessory there. And I believe you could hook it onto this hand, and we'll do the hands in a minute, but yeah, you can have him carrying the jug with one of these hands that has the finger kind of out there. Speaking of hands, he's got a pair of fists. He's also got that hand I just showed that you can use to hold the jug or maybe throwing a dagger, but it's got two fingers that are, separate as opposed to like all sculpted together. And then he's got two sets of gripping hands. He's got a narrower set, like a sort of a tighter grip here, and then he's got a more open grip for the bigger handles over here. For articulation, the head is on a ball joint at the top of the neck. It's actually a double ball, so you can kind of shift it side to side a little bit there. There's so much beard, and there's the ponytail, and like there's a lot getting in the way of it, so it's pretty limited on what you can do with the head, but there is some range, and if you mess around with it, maybe pop the ponytail off, he can look up a little bit more. But yeah, that beard's just going to get in the way of a lot of the range of motion. Arms do have a hinge that can come up this far. It probably would go further if this chainmail piece wasn't there, but comes out to about this far, and then it does swing up around here and then back. And again, it's like there's a lot of armor and things getting in the way. And then he does have double jointed elbows, which can come up well past 90 degrees over here. There's a twist at the top of the elbow, and then there's a twist at the forearm as well. Hinge at the wrist. I believe all the hands have a horizontal hinge here, and then you can twist that wrist as well. He does have a ball joint at the waist, but the plastic tunic is definitely going to limit things. He can kind of crunch forward a little bit, and then he can crunch back and kind of cock side to side, but there's some range there, but it's getting limited by the tunic. He's got ball joint at the hips, so he can kick out a little bit. Again, that tunic is definitely getting in the way. He can kick back a little bit. There's a twist at the top of the leg. There's a single jointed knee that can kick back, not even to 90 degrees, so pretty limited there in the knees. And then you can twist above that knee. And then at the ankle, there is a hinge here, so his feet can point down very well and up. And then there's a rocker, but there's no twist. I really wish more companies would put a twist at that ankle like Legions have. And while there are some pretty big limitations from the beard, from the collar, from the tunic, and kind of like getting in the way of some of the range that's actually there, I will say that the joints are all super smooth. Nothing feels like it's going to break or anything like that. It just feels like a nice quality figure. And finally, I decided to try out some part swaps. Here is the Elkhorn head on the Zarek body, which I think works really well. If you were going to try to make another dwarf, though, I think you'd want to swap the neck or find a different option, maybe paint the neck even, because the neck, you can definitely see it from the back that is a green neck on there. But otherwise, I think that if you're looking to make an extra dwarf, that Zarek body would work really well. And then here's the Elkhorn head on the Gilius body. Now, this is not a pop to fit situation. The peg hole is larger on the Elkhorn figure, and the skin tone is off, but the scale works really well. I think this actually fits pretty good. And then next up, I do have a Mythic Legions dwarf head on here. Again, not pop to fit. The Mythic Legions peg hole is larger than the NECA peg hole, but I actually think this works pretty well. I was expecting the head to seem way too small, but it's not too bad actually. And finally, here's how the Gilius head looks on the Elkhorn body. Unfortunately, like I said before, the Storm peg hole is too small for the NECA one, so I had to take the peg actually out of there. but ultimately I think it looks pretty good, and it kind of shows that there is some opportunity there for customizing and mixing and part swapping and bashing some things together between NECA, Mythic Legions, and Storm Collectibles, and possibly some other lines. Anyway, that'll do it for my video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you.